Hello, welcome to this new course exploring abstraction. If you look on the internet, you'll find lots of examples of abstract art. Some by famous artists, some by lesser known artists. What we're focusing on in this course is abstraction, which is where you start from something in the real world and then you simplify it or modify it in some sort of way to create your composition. So for example, these involve fragmentation. These involve simplification. These simplified forms have been arranged in a very, very decorative way. And these examples focus very, very much on texture. During this course, we'll be looking at lots of different ways of abstracting from life, and each session will introduce you to different techniques. So if you're ready, we will get started. So in this session, we're going to look at fragmentation, perhaps most famously explored by the Cubist artists like Picasso and Braque. But also many other artists have explored it in different sorts of ways. There are two techniques we're going to look at. One is taking overlapping views and joining them together, and the second is creating planes across a piece of work to break it up. So with this first technique, we are going to be drawing one drawing over the top of another and then editing it. Here are some examples by an artist I can't remember the name of at the moment. I'm going to be working from a collection of objects that I set up and I photographed them so I can show them to you. So here's my collection, and what I've done is I've taken photographs from different angles, and what I will be doing is drawing each of the pictures and overlapping those drawings. This technique draws on one of the central ideas of the Cubists, which was the idea of trying to show different viewpoints at once. So this is the first view I'm going to start with. I'm going to move that up there so it will be out of view a little bit for you. And I'm going to start just drawing, keeping it nice and simple. I'm drawing with charcoal, trying to get these shapes. So as you can see, quite a simple drawing to start with. And now I'm going to pick a different picture and start drawing over the top. So I'm going to now work from this one. So as you can see, very quickly you start to get something that's quite jumbled. And now I'm going to work from this one. And finally from this one. So there is the start of my picture. Something I could have done is I could have turned the page upside down and drawn from different directions as well. But the point of this is that what I've got is something which is quite busy and jumbled. What I'm now going to do is start to edit it. So I have here a pot of white emulsion and a flat brush. And I'm going to go in here and just look for interesting shapes. A nice sort of shape there, and I'm going to edit out the lines that I don't want. What you'll notice, I think, is that the charcoal will blend in to some extent into the paint, which is really quite nice. So we're just starting to edit out what I don't want. So now I'm going to start to draw a little bit back into that again, just sort of emphasizing some of the lines, sticking the charcoal for now. And I'm going to start to add in a little bit of tone as well. Start to working. This is coming on. I think I'm going to introduce just a little bit of colour in now with some coloured pencils. Finally, I'm going to add a few extra light highlights with a Tipp-Ex pen. There's my finished composition. I just need to spray it with some hairspray to fix it. Here are two other examples of that technique where one image has been laid over the top of another. So this one by Marcel Duchamp, Nude Descending a Staircase. So the figure coming down. And again, this one's a figure. It's a lot harder to make out, but it is somebody grinding a knife on a wheel. So we can see the knife moving there. We can see the wheel and the foot going up and down on a pedal. Here's another example which has kept more realism. So this study of bottles where different angles are overlapped together to create that sort of shimmering fragmented look. The second fragmentation exercise involves breaking up the surface of your picture. Here with a series of straight lines. Here with straight lines but going in all kinds of different directions. Here curving lines. Again straight lines here, and kind of a complex array of lines and curves in this piece of work. This can be quite simple or quite decorative. What you'll notice with these two in particular is you've got a single viewpoint from a still life, but the breaking up of the picture is created by those lines. So for my second study, worked largely from this drawing, but before I get onto it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a few preliminary sketches to work out the composition that I fancy using. So having done 4 preliminary sketches, I've increasingly wanted to zoom in closer, and it's this composition that interests me most. So that's the one that I'm going to work from. So I'm going to translate that to a piece of paper. I'm going to work with a very limited palette of colours, sticking largely with the greens and browns. But even so, when I initially draw it, I'm not going to draw it with an ordinary pencil. I'm going to draw it with a coloured pencil because that will allow the colours to be just that little bit stronger. So I'm going to sketch this out more carefully now. Now I sketch it out, I'm going to work on an alternating palette pattern of colours going from green and brown. You might wonder, how do I decide where to put the lines? Just trying to break it up in an interesting way and not leave too many small shapes really. As I shade in these sections, what I'm going to do is try to graduate that tone so it goes from dark on one edge to light on the other. As I used watercolour pencils, I've added a little bit of water just to sort of blend those colours in. If you do this exercise, you could decide to work with felt tips, you might decide to work with paint, whatever medium you fancy. There's going to be a short slideshow now, just showing a few examples from past students. Next session, we're going to be looking at simplification. I hope you enjoyed today's session, and if you do Facebook, please post examples of what you create on the Art for All Facebook page. Details coming up in a moment. Bye bye.